Hello friends, welcome back to Python projects series. In this video, we are going to develop a URL shortener project, which means this project will take one very long URL and it will convert into a short, tiny little URL, which you can share with your friends very easily on any social media network. So let me show you the output first before showing the code. Okay, so as you have seen, so this is the long URL that I'm going to shorten. Okay, so you can see here, right? So let me copy this URL and let's go back to the terminal where we need to run the program. So for running the program, I just need to type python url shortener.py. This is the project file, and let's run this one. And when you run this program, it will ask for the URL to shorten. Okay, so the URL that I copied, and let's enter it. So now I got this short URL here. Okay, so let me copy this URL, and now let's go back to our browser and open a new tab and enter the new short URL. So it is taking time, little time for opening it. Yeah, boom. See guys, it's pretty cool, right? So we are going to develop this project in this video, and this is going to be a very interesting project, guys. So let's get started. Before that, please subscribe our YouTube channel and hit that like button. In this project, we are going to use these three libraries. Other than these three libraries, we are going to use tinyurl.com service for shortening the URL. So you can just open the browser and then check this service. So this is basically used for shortening the URL. Let's start with writing a function. Function. Okay, I'm just giving this one is equal to main. Okay. So this is basically to just differentiate if this particular project is ran directly or the function that we're going to write is imported into some other project. Okay, so let's print some hello world here. Okay, I will just run this project and see the output. So URL shortener. See, everything is working fine. That means the modules that we imported here in the line number 345 are working fine. Okay, so now let's define a function called get tiny URL. Okay, so what this function will do is it will take the URL, the long URL, and it will convert or it will shorten that URL. Okay, so for shortening the URL, as I said, we are going to use this tinyurl.com service. So this is a free service. We no need to pay any money for this one. So let's use that service here. So I will say http colon / tiny URL. So you will have to use the same format, guys. I mean, if you don't use this format, okay, it will not work for you. Okay. So create dot php, the question mark here, and after that, we need to pass the URL that user is going to give us. Okay, and we cannot pass that URL directly. We need to encode that URL. So how can we encode a URL using this URL encode function? Okay, so something like this URL encode, and this will take a dictionary as a parameter. So URL, again, the actual URL that user is going to pass here. Okay, so that's all, guys. I mean, our request URL is ready. Now let's convert that into a short URL by opening it. Okay, so we will open that URL using the context lib library. So context lib dot closing. This is basically for closing the URL even there is a error. Okay, so we no need to do any extra error handling here. So that's why I'm using that. Okay, extra. I mean URL open and request URL. And I will take the response, whatever the response that we're going to get from this one. response. And finally, simple, just we need to return response dot read. Okay, and finally we need to decode the response that we got from the this URL open call here. Okay, so for decoding it, we have to use UTF minus 8. Sorry, 8. That's it, guys. I mean, that's all we need to do it here. Okay, so let's try this one if it is working or not. Okay, so let's call this function tiny URL, and you give the URL that you want to shorten. So I will grab the URL from somewhere else, something like this. Okay, this is my valid blog URL. And now let's run this project. It will take a minute, not even a minute, yeah, couple of seconds. See here, we got the tiny short URL, right? If you open this URL in the browser, you will get to see the output, actual output. I mean, whatever this URL it is here, the long URL, the same web page you will be able to open using this short URL as well. So you can see that. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys. And